When Caleb Rowan walked into the cafe that cold March evening, he had no idea his life was about to change forever. He was expecting an awkward dinner, maybe some forced small talk. What he wasn't expecting was to watch a woman break down in tears the moment she saw his face. Caleb was 34, a mountain rescue paramedic in Boulder, Colorado. Strong hands, tired eyes, the kind of man who spent his days pulling strangers off cliffs and his nights sitting alone after his son fell asleep. His wife Ari had been dead for 4 years. 4 years of frozen dinners. 4 years of watching his 8-year-old son Milo wake up screaming from nightmares about the day his mother collapsed in their kitchen and never got back up. Caleb didn't date, but his sister Jenna wouldn't let it go. "You need a life outside grief," she told him, sliding a napkin across her table with a name and time written on it. "Her name's Era. She's kind. She's brilliant. Just meet her once." So here he was. Willow and Stone Cafe, 7 o'clock on a Tuesday, snow melting on the windows, his leg bouncing under the table. The door opened. A woman entered in a powered wheelchair. Copper hair braided loosely over one shoulder. Soft gray eyes scanning the room. She spotted him and froze. Something in her face crumbled. She started shaking her head. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." Caleb stood up. "Hey, are you okay?" She was backing up, gripping her wheels. Her breathing went ragged. I can't do this again." "Do what? What's wrong?" "You weren't supposed to be." She couldn't finish. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Just go. Please, please, just go before this gets worse." Every instinct Caleb had kicked in at once. He walked toward her slowly and knelt down until his eyes were level with hers. "Hey," he said softly, "I'm Caleb. Can I sit with you?" She stared at him. "You're not leaving. Do you want me to?" A long pause. "I don't know," she admitted. "Then let's figure it out together." Her name was Era Quinn. She was 29 and she had been lied to. "They told me you used a wheelchair too," she finally said, her voice hollow. "They said we'd have that in common." Caleb blinked. "My sister set this up. She never mentioned anything about a wheelchair. She just told me you were extraordinary." Era laughed bitterly. "So you didn't know?" "No. And you're not going to suddenly remember you left the stove on." She studied him, searching for the lie. "I've done this before. The blind date thing. It always ends the same way. They either treat me like a charity case or they can't get out fast enough. I know what it feels like to be managed by people who love you but don't actually see you. I'm not here out of pity. I'm here because Jenna said you were worth meeting and so far she's not wrong." "Then sit," she whispered. "Please." They ordered coffee, then tea, then more coffee. The cafe emptied around them. Era told him everything. She'd been a competitive alpine skier, national level. At 24, she was on track for the Olympics. Then a car ran a red light. She woke up 3 days later in a hospital bed. Couldn't feel her legs. "My boyfriend stayed for 2 months," she said. "Then one morning, he told me he'd lost the woman he loved. Like I died in that accident and forgot to stop breathing." She looked up. "I rebuilt my whole life, Caleb, from nothing. But dating is a nightmare. I can't survive being someone's charity case again. I won't." Caleb took a breath. "Can I tell you about Ari?" She nodded. She was healthy, strong. Then one afternoon she was making lunch and she said she felt dizzy and then she was on the floor. His voice stayed steady, but his hands didn't. Milo saw everything. He was 4. Rare heart condition nobody knew about. Milo still has nightmares. All I can do is show up every single day and try to make him feel safe. Era reached across the table. Her fingers brushed his. "I haven't dated since she died. But Milo comes first. And I refuse to bring someone into his life who isn't going to stay." "So why are you here tonight?" "Because my sister told me I was disappearing. And I think she's right. 2 people who understood what it meant to lose everything and keep going anyway." "Same time next week?" Era asked. Caleb smiled. I'd like that. What followed was 3 months Caleb never expected. They went to an adaptive climbing gym. They watched movies. Caleb learned how to ask before helping with transfers, how to see her instead of her chair. And she met Milo. How come your legs don't work? Milo asked immediately. I was in an accident, she said simply. My spine got hurt and now my brain can't talk to my legs anymore. Does it hurt? Sometimes. But I've gotten pretty good at dealing with it. Can you do wheelies? By the end of that afternoon, Era had taught him a breathing trick for when the panic came. That night, Milo slept through until morning for the first time in months. But Era was still afraid. 3 months in, they sat in a quiet therapy room, and Era finally broke. I'm falling in love with you, she whispered, tears sliding down her face. And it terrifies me. I can't be someone's project. And I can't survive being left again. If you're not sure, tell me now. Caleb took her face in his hands. Era, you are not an obligation. You're not something to fix. You're a miracle I never expected. Milo sleeps through the night now because of you. I laugh again because of you. I'm staying because my life is better with you in it. She collapsed into his arms. And for the first time in a long time, neither of them felt alone. 9 months after that disastrous blind date, Caleb drove up a winding mountain road. The road opened into a meadow. Wild flowers everywhere. Boulder Canyon stretched out beyond. He pushed her to the edge where the flowers met the overlook. Then he knelt. 9 months ago, I walked into a cafe expecting nothing. I was tired. I was broken. And then you rolled in and fell apart in front of me. And something in my chest woke up for the first time in 4 years. His voice cracked. You're the bravest person I've ever met. You rebuilt your entire life. You taught my son how to breathe through his fear. You taught me how to hope again. He pulled out a small velvet box. Era Quinn, will you marry me? She couldn't speak. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded frantically. Yes, she finally choked out. Yes. Then a small voice shattered the moment. Did she say yes? Milo came sprinting out from behind a pine tree. Did she? Yes, buddy. I said yes. Milo pumped his fist in the air and started dancing right there in the wild flowers. The 3 of them held on like they'd never let go. The wedding was small. A sunlit greenhouse, 30 guests who mattered. Milo walked down the aisle beside her, his hand resting on the arm of her wheelchair. When they reached Caleb, Milo whispered loud enough for the front row to hear, I told you he'd stay. I spent 5 years believing I was too broken to be loved, Era said, her voice trembling. And then I met you. You didn't see a wheelchair. You saw me. Thank you for staying when leaving was easier. Caleb gave his vows. 4 years ago I stopped living. I told myself I was being strong for Milo. But the truth is I was hiding. You didn't just wake me up, Era. You brought me back to life. You gave my son someone to believe in. You're my future. Both of you are. Later that night, after the dancing and cake, the 3 of them sat together on a bench outside. Milo had fallen asleep on Era's lap, his hand curled around hers. Caleb had his arm around both of them. The stars were just starting to come out. Hey, Era said softly. Hey. She touched his cheek. Thank you for sitting down. Caleb smiled. Best decision I ever made. And in that moment, surrounded by silence and starlight and the 2 people who had saved him, Caleb finally understood. Grief doesn't have an expiration date, but neither does hope.